I'm Joel Makower talking to Diana Dimitrova from BCG about a new report about decarbonization. Diana, this is the fourth year that you've done this report. What have you learned about where we are with decarbonization and how it compares with a few years back?
Great to see you, Joel. Thanks so much for having me. So every year for the last 4 years, we've looked at about 2,000 companies or just under that represent north of 40% of the emissions globally. So it tends to be a pretty good stock take on where we are. And unfortunately, we actually this year saw a decline across comprehensive measurement. So only 9% of companies comprehensively measure their scope 1, 2, and 3. Their target setting, so how they align their targets, is also eroded. And most interestingly, only 11% of companies are reducing their emissions in line with what their ambitions were, which is, I think, about a 3 percentage point erosion. So it's another signal that perhaps some of the attention that's been put on it is not materializing yet in the figures.
9% in 2024 is not great. To what do you attribute the lack of progress?
Look, it's a great question, and it's one that I hope we turn around, especially in light of COP30 coming around the corner. In the short term, we've had some disruptions due to active wars, which has strained supply chains, and there's been a general cost sensitivity. And so I think for CEOs, it's mostly been the rising of other priorities near the top of their list. But I am very optimistic that decarbonization will be back in the top 3 very soon.
Well, you talk about the cost, and one of the findings is that there are some substantial benefits financially for companies that lead on decarbonization.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite, spotlights of this year, because I think it makes it very real for companies that decarbonization isn't just a drain. So we found that 25% of companies who are leaders in the space actually make about 7% of their revenue in net benefits. So that's after their investment. So that's roughly 200 million. And 200 million is a very healthy addition to anyone's bottom line. And that's what I think gets me on the train, that managers will realize this and start to push in that direction. And often those things are coupled, right? So they end up decarbonizing and taking cost out of their businesses. We saw that as the leading reason of where they were generating the benefit. And so I think we'll see more and more in that direction.
So what will it take for more companies to unlock those kinds of benefits?
I think it's doing the business cases and making sure that they understand, okay, if we, reduce our potentially physical footprint, what is the carbon that we take out, as well as some of the cost elements around it. But those business cases could be really varied. It could be anything from upgrading your heating or changing some of the materials to go into your product. And so I think the opportunities are endless.
One of the things you talk about in the report is the role of artificial intelligence. Do you see AI as a net positive or negative when it comes to decarbonization?
So AI is a net positive. I think technology in general, and then AI as an extension of that, really just makes things faster and shortcuts certain things. It does make the ability to measure your baseline or to prioritize levers just much faster. And so it can get those business cases we just talked about on the table much quicker. And then you can just start to make decisions on that as a manager.
So lots more opportunity. Thanks so much, Diana.
Great to see you, Joe.